to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That could be for the
My name is Paul Williams. I'm the moderator for this meeting. Any non-COVID please direct all questions and comments to the moderator, and please use the microphone each time you want to speak. Identify yourself using the microphone. So we'll start with Article 1. Article 1, report to agent, officer, or officer. See what action the student will take relative to the report of agents, officers, and officers. Is there a motion to accept?
Mr. Moderator, I move the article as stated.
Okay, is that a move to accept the report?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Good. Is there any discussion, any questions or comments? Is there any other question? And the question is Article 1, and the motion to accept the reports of agents, advisors, committees, and officers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Article 1 passes. Article 2, contingency fund. See if the school district will vote to establish a contingency fund in accordance with the revised statutes annotated 198:4-B. Such contingency fund to meet the cost of unanticipated expenses that may arise during the year. And further, to see if the district will raise and appropriate the sum of $1,000 for such contingency fund. The school board recommends this appropriation. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move to accept the article as stated.
Okay, and we, just move it as stated, the accept is for the reports only, really, but, so
Okay.
in case I confuse you.
Okay.
So it's been moved, is there a second? Article 2 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on Article 2? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor of Article 2 regarding the $1,000, appropriating $1,000 for contingency fund, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So Article 2 passes. Brings us to Article 3, the teacher collective bargaining agreement. See if the school district will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement between the Plymouth School Board and the Plymouth Education Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. Fiscal year estimated increase 2018-2019 is $0. 2019-2020 is $113,982. 2020-2021 is $117,679. 2021-2022 is $123,568. And further, to raise and appropriate $113,982 for the current fiscal year, such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 3 as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Article 3 has been moved and seconded. Is there discussions, questions?
I'm a teacher. I deeply respect everything that the teachers do, and I'm hoping that you can explain to us a little bit about the raises, why there isn't any in the first year, but also why there are ones the other years, how this brings our teachers to what level in terms of our local schools, just a little bit more.
Who's going to respond to that?
I didn't hear the whole question, so.
Why there's
What's
no
that?
raise the first year? Why there's no raise the first year? And where gets the teachers in this area?
This contract has been in discussion for about 2 years. So the first year is a zero increase because we didn't really vote on or have a teacher's contract in place for that year. Right? What you're, 113,000? What you're seeing for the first year, fiscal year number is the step increase that goes along with the contract, since we did give the step for that year that we didn't have a contract in place.
And how does this get, it's a follow-up only in that it didn't answer the rest of my question. In terms of salaries for teachers in the local area, where do our teachers fall? Are we at the norm? Are we high? Are we low?
Are you talking statewide or just SAU-wide?
Nationwide rather than statewide. Anybody know
Mark, do we have that?
They're very competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the contract is online. I think when you look at the whole body of the agreement, it's a pretty fair agreement. It's a good place to work. We're competitive. I think particularly in the area of professional development, we're very, very competitive. Teachers have been very gracious in negotiating a scale back in some health benefits. So I think it's a very fair agreement.
Excellent, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Any further questions or discussions regarding Article 4? This brings us to the question. All those in favor of Article 3, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 3 passes. Article 4, movable partitions. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,000 for the purchase of 4 movable partitions, classroom walls. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
I move the district vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,000 for the purchase of 4 movable walls,
Okay, so you move on.
as stated.
Okay. Is there a second on Article 4? Okay, we have, it's now on the floor. Is there any questions or discussions regarding Article 4?
Zach Terrell, is my name. I have a question. Why, if we knew these partitions were going to need to be replaced, did we not do a capital reserve fund or some sort of long-term planning for their replacement?
Who's going to respond to that? Mr. Allen?
We did have a capital reserve. We have 8 petition walls. So we used the capital reserve last year for 4 of them. We used it up. So this is the second group of 4, and there's not any money left in the capital reserve. But the first year we did use it entirely.
Quick follow-up.
Sure.
The reason that we used the entire capital reserve for half the walls was that because the price increased much higher than what we originally anticipated when we set the money aside, or?
No, quite frankly, after the previous year's tax rate, we did all we could to bring that tax rate down.
But if you were pulling out of the capital reserve, it wouldn't have affected the tax rate?
No, because if we didn't pull it out, you'd be raising $60,000. So we needed some tax relief for the tax bill you just got. And
So that capital reserve wasn't explicitly for the wall?
no, it was for building improvements.
Okay, building improvements.
Yep. And so, and this year, by raising the 60, it's an easier, because of the revaluation and some additional building, it's easier to raise that money this year than it would have been the previous year, given the tax, we wanted the taxes to come down.
So we're choosing to do it not out of capital reserve this year? And
There's no money to move into from the capital reserve. It's all been used up.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, it sounds to me like we had capital reserve money that we spent, but we don't have any more, so now we're going to taxpayers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rather than using savings.
Yes. Yeah. And these are walls that have a 20-year lifespan. So this is something that will take care of the next 20 years.
because I came back to the microphone. Have we looked at the building and looked at other projects that may be coming up over the coming years that we should be putting money into capital reserve versus spending for the things as they come up?
Yep. Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The building is in very, very good shape. In fact, we have a couple of projects that will be done in the 20s, and the community can have a conversation about capital reserve accounts. We did a number of years ago, and I'll get to that in a second, but the upcoming projects, quite frankly, are we need to get the oil tanks out of the ground probably within the next 5 years, and the community will make a decision whether they want to change over to propane, like we've done in a number of the other buildings, or remain with number 2 fuel oil. That's a philosophical discussion the community can have based on some numbers we'll develop. So that's a project that's coming up. Also, there'll be another generation of lighting upgrades at some point. We'll be sealing the parking lot and doing the cracks that appear over time. And also, we were just talking, Mr. Lamoureux and I, we have an erosion problem on the back part of the lot. So if you're out walking the fence line someday, you can see that's going to be an issue. It'd be easier to hit a home run in a few years, but you're going to have to move those fences in unless we do something along there. And I don't know what. So it's a massive issue out there. So those are the projects that are coming up. I think you'll be voting on recoating the roof, a couple warrant articles from now. But the issue for the community is to say, do we put money away and save it up and then bring it out when we have to do something? Or do we pay as we go? Folks that are here will use it. And it's a big philosophical discussion because many of you remember Ken Sutherland Sr., who had the conversation many years ago of, why are you taking my money? I may not be alive when you actually come out and spend it. So there was an argument against capital reserve funds and having it pay as you go. So we had this small capital reserve that we have, but there's a special ed capital reserve. There's about $4,000 or $5,000 left in this capital reserve for building improvements. But those are the projects, and I think budget time next year, there'll be a good conversation to have about future funding of projects. Thanks for the question.
When is the right time to raise that to get it into the budgeting?
It would be, quite frankly, in December, next November, December, when the board begins to look at the budgeting process.
And that would be at the school board meeting?
Yeah, it'd be a regular school board meeting here. Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Mr.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll bring this to a vote. And this is a vote on Article 4 about movable partitions and to spend $60,000 for 4 movable partitions for classrooms. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The Article 4 passes. This brings us to Article 5. Campus Resource Officer, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $28,960 for the purpose of a campus school resource officer to be shared with the Penny Baker Regional School District. This article is contingent upon passage by the vote of Penny Baker Regional School District and the Plymouth School District. The school board recommends this article. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I propose to move the article as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Article 5 has been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or any discussion? Hearing none, that brings us to the question, and the question is whether to appropriate, spend $28,960 for campus resource officer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nay. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. So Article 5 passes. Brings us to Article 6. Recoat protective covering Plymouth Elementary School roof. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $105,000 for the purpose of recoating the protective covering of the Plymouth Elementary School roof. School board recommends this appropriation. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Article 6 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or are there any questions? You moving on back there? Go ahead, Mark. Come up to the microphone. Come up to the microphone if you have a question or you start to move.
Dr. Blaine, how many times are we going to be replacing the roof? It seems like every time we turn around, we're having to deal with this roof. Is there an integral issue? Why is it so often an issue? Seems like since it was built.
Actually, I think the roof's done a pretty good job, to be honest with you. Some of the leakage that you see along here is just moisture from the piping system. It's a protective coating over an artificial surface, and it's done pretty well. It's reflected the sun off of the building, every 10 years or so we try and recoat that, so it's a bright silvery for a number of years, and then it begins to fade a little bit. We're a little bit behind on recoating it this time around, only because we had a lot of warranty work done in the winter of 07, 08, when we had a massive amount of snow, and it just everything. We just had an issue with everything, but the coating did its job. So I think it's a pretty good roof. I think it's a good time to do the project.
Thank you.
Do I understand it's more maintenance and repair?
Every 10 years or so, we should be doing this.
Thank you. Is there any further questions or discussion on Article 6? Seeing none, brings us to the vote on Article 6, which is to appropriate $105,000 to recoat protective covering on the school roof. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Article 6 passes. Article 7, security upgrades. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,000 for the purpose of security upgrades to the front entrance of the building. $14,400 to come from the New Hampshire Public School Infrastructure Fund. $3,600 to come from taxation. Is there a motion on Article 7?
Mr. Moderator, I propose to move the article as stated.
Is there a second? Article 7 has been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or discussion on Article 7? Seeing none, it brings us to a question on whether we will raise and appropriate $18,000 for security upgrades to the front entrance of the school. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Article 7 passes. Article 8, operating budget. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $8,317,423 for the support of schools, for the payment of salaries for the school district officials and agents, and for the payment for the statutory obligations of the district. This article does not include appropriations contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 8 as stated.
Is there a second? Article 8 has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion or questions? Seeing none, which brings us to the question, and that is the question is Article 8, operating budget, to see if we're going to vote to raise and appropriate $8,317,423 operating from the elementary school and the district for the next fiscal year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
How many minutes?
Passes.
6:22.
Which brings us to the end of the meeting. There is one, is
Frank.
Frank.
we'd like to present him with Plymouth School District Honors Night
I already got my
School
Christmas.
Member for 21 years of distinguished and loyal service to the students, staff, and community, recognized this day, the 4th of March, 2019.
Thank you for all your work. Right? And that was us at the end of the meeting, so we dissolved this meeting.